Ever since I can remember, I've disliked boys. Never understood them. Of course, it didn't help that there were few males in our lives, my mom and I. They were strange creatures in my eyes. My first real experience of interacting with the boys took place in kindergarten. One boy in particular annoyed me. He was a chubby one, I think his name was Billy. He was always picking on the girls. He'd pull their hair, make fun of them, and sometimes they'd end up crying. One day I had enough. Most of the other kids were playing with a soccer ball while my friend Allison and I were watching. Billy came up to Allison and yanked on her ponytail. I told him to stop it. "What are you gonna do about it, Skinny?" I got between the two and I shoved him away from my friend. "Why you?" And he came after me. I've always been quick, and here I just stuck my foot out and tripped him. With Billy on his back, I wasted no time and I jumped on top of his big belly with my legs straddling him. It was just instinctive. He tried to squirm loose, but I held his hands down. Meanwhile, all the other kids stopped playing and watched in shock as Billy the bully was being beaten. "Stop teasing my friends. Get off of me." His face red with anger and embarrassment. "Oh, look at the big bully now. Let me go." I remember sinking my knees into his arms and he began to scream. He actually started crying. I still remembered that feeling of strength and how pathetic the boy was. And how embarrassed he was to be beaten by a girl in front of the class. What a rush. Our teacher came in after hearing Billy squeal. "Laura, get up off of Billy this instant." For the rest of the year, Billy never teased another girl and he always tried to avoid me. That didn't stop me from teasing him in front of his friends. If I was in a bad mood, I'd make him cry. I remember really enjoying kindergarten after that. Throughout school, there was no greater joy than teasing and humiliating the boys in class. The feeling of power was intoxicating. It was such a rush to see their red faces of shame after I beat them or otherwise embarrassed the cocky boys in front of their friends. They were so weak. Eventually, most kids stayed away from me. And that was fine. My mom and I got along okay, but she was always busy with her interior design work. I never really knew my father. He had health problems for years and passed away when I was 2. As an only child, that meant I had to learn to be independent at an early age. I had a lot of pent-up energy. My mom signed me up for a variety of sports and I excelled in them. My mom thought that ballet would be a good way to exercise and develop discipline. Being a tomboy, ballet wasn't something I even considered. But I came to love how it improved my flexibility and posture. Surprising too was my attraction to wearing the tight-fitting feminine outfits. I loved how the stretchy fabric clung to my body. And by my teens, I discovered that I could really tease the boys wearing tight, stretchy clothes. Occasionally there'd be the odd boy who'd sign up for ballet class. And of course, I never let an opportunity like that go by without teasing and humiliating them. The poor dears. There was no end to the taunting they had to endure from me. Of course, I'd get into trouble from Ms. Ottaway, our teacher. But somehow I got the impression she got a kick out of seeing me tease them over their outfits and push them around. My most enjoyable moment of ballet class was a few years ago. A tall, thin boy by the name of Taylor joined the class. He'd moved from another city and had some ballet experience. On his first day, he wore white tights and a blue tunic. All the girls were impressed by his style and grace on the floor. He seemed to feed off their compliments and became a bit too stuck up. I knew I had to take him down a peg or two. And I could tell he was soft. So, every day I'd find something to tease him about. "Gee, it looks like you're gaining weight, Tay. You have terrible posture, Tay. You're not very strong, are you? I've got a nice leotard and tutu, maybe you should wear that instead." Each day I'd chip away at his fragile ego. Occasionally I'd accidentally push my butt into his groin and grind a little. This got him really flustered and he'd have to excuse himself and go to the washroom. After a few weeks of my teasing, his performance and concentration started to deteriorate. His confidence was gone. One day Miss Ottaway took Taylor aside. I snuck closer to listen in. "Taylor, I must say you seem to be having problems keeping up. Your progress is not on par with rest of the girls and I'm afraid I'm going to have to demote you to the remedial class." His face turned red and he was on the verge of crying. The thin veneer of boyish confidence crumbled. I smiled a mischievous grin. Another victim. Before he hurried away, I stopped him. "Gee, Tay, what's the matter?" feigning sincere concern. He could barely look me in the eyes and left the studio. I never saw him again in the studio. At home there was a little more friction between my mom and I when I reached my teens. My mom would occasionally date men and sometimes bring them home. For my approval, perhaps. This was a waste of time. Apparently I was considered rude and they eventually stayed away except one. He had the nerve to move in with us. I never trusted him no matter how much he tried to play nice with me. By this time I got very involved in sports including swimming and wrestling at school. And to keep away from my mom's boyfriend, I took up jiu-jitsu in the evening. Summers with my aunt. To try and get out of the house more, I began pestering my mom to let me visit my aunt. She was in her 40s and I always thought she was so elegant, the way she dressed and carried herself. I idolized her. She was my father's sister. My mom and her were not close, nor was my mother keen on me spending time with her sister-in-law. Aunt Kate would visit about once a year when I was younger. I could tell that she took a liking to me. She could tell we were kindred spirits. When I turned 15, my mother gave in and allowed me to spend the summer with my Aunt Catherine. I don't know if it was because her younger brother was so frail, but she did not care for him or men in general. And of course she never married. My visits with Aunt Kate would turn out to be the most significant period in my life. It's how I came to be who I am today. You see, my aunt had an unusual predilection. She enjoyed taking in teenaged boys in need of lodging. Some were sons of ladies she knew, others, unsuspecting lads from the city. There was always a fresh supply of boys, in part because of the acting school nearby. They may have been typical boys when they arrived, but when they left my aunt's house they were far from typical. More like simpering sissies. My first summer with my aunt was a real eye-opening experience for a young teen like me. I watched in awe and excitement that summer as Aunt Kate was in the final stages of training a boy of 18. She treated him like a pet, plenty of discipline and occasional tender moments. She instilled her philosophy that males were inferior to females and that they belonged underfoot, dedicated to serving women. I was not allowed to participate then. She instructed me to simply watch carefully how she handled the boy and how he responded to her direction. I very much enjoyed the look of embarrassment on his face, being dressed in a maid's outfit, humiliated and powerless in front of a pretty young girl like me. It was all I could do to hold my tongue. I so wanted to taunt and tease him, but my aunt was adamant. By the time that summer ended, we had an agreement that I would help her next year. The story of Lainey. Catherine never had much trouble finding boys to fall into her web of femininity through ads in the local paper. But the next summer, one landed on her doorstep. His name was Lance, a handsome boy and the son of Miss Hennessy, a member of the society my aunt was a part of. In his early teens, Lance started hanging out with the wrong sort of boys. His mom discovered that these boys enjoyed teasing girls and taking advantage of them. This was totally inappropriate in his mother's eyes. Indeed, within her group of society ladies, this drew a lot of negative attention toward Ms. Hennessy. She knew she had to nip this in the bud, and so she turned to Catherine, whom she knew would help mold Lance into a proper young man, heir, sissy. When I arrived at the entrance to my aunt's large Tudor-style house, I was filled with excitement. Aunt Kate had sent me photos of 17-year-old Lance when he arrived in the spring, and now, 1 month later. The latest version of Lance looked a little softer and self-conscious. Not cocky at all. Maybe because his clothes were not boys' clothes anymore. A tall, fit boy with long wavy blonde hair and blue eyes greeted me at the door. He was wearing tan bell-bottom slacks. Women's slacks by the look of the flat front and ballet flats. Along with that was a baby blue cotton shirt. Not too feminine except for the wide sleeves. As instructed, I merely walked past him with little regard, leaving my suitcase on the porch for him to take inside. My aunt, sitting comfortably in the living room, got up and gave me a warm hug. "So good to see you, my dear. You're turning into a beautiful young woman. And so fit." I was wearing my favorite outfit, soft pink capri leggings and a silver crop top. Swimming, ballet and martial arts keeps me in shape, Aunt Kate. Apparently. Oh, Lon, take that suitcase up to the spare room. I should not need to remind you. With a slight grimace and a red face, the boy picked up my suitcase and took it upstairs. How is the boy doing? And when can I start on him? I could not contain my excitement. Catherine smiled. Well, Lon is a difficult case. He's ran away once. Wah. Yes, indeed. I had to deploy the twins to find the little brat. It took 2 days. They found him hiding at one of his friend's place. I don't know if you noticed, but I've put a tracking device on his wrist. Unfortunately, he's making slow progress, and I would not count out another escape attempt. We need to step up the feminization process so he'll be less inclined to leave the house adorned in feminine finery. Just tell me when to start. I love your enthusiasm, my dear. There's no time like the present. Now remember, you'll be the good cop, I'll be the bad cop. This is your chance to tease the boy. Make him infatuated but impotent in front of you. Let's go upstairs and see what he's up to. He should have been down here by now. As we entered my room, there was Lance going through my clothing in my suitcase. He was clearly aroused by this. Kate and I looked at each other and smiled. What on earth are you doing with Ms. Laura's clothing? Did I not instruct you to unpack her suitcase and put her clothing in the dresser? Silence. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, Lon? I'm sorry, Ms. Ellesmere. I must have been daydreaming. Laura, Lon here fancies himself as a sort of playboy. But what kind of playboy wears women's slacks and blouses? But Ms. Ellesmere, you took away all my clothes. It's becoming clear that Lon likes women's clothes. It's also clear now that he likes your intimate clothing in particular. I asked him if that was true. Does he like my yoga pants, my bras, my panties? I walked up to him until I was inches away, my hot breath on his chest, looking right into his eyes, daring him keep my gaze. It wasn't long before he looked away. I do like feminine lingerie. I see them as part of my arsenal when confronting boys. In my suitcase were plenty of pretty panties and other delicates. I pulled out a pink satin thong with lace edging. I brought it right up to his nose. Do you like these, Lance? His once flat front in his slacks was now showing a prominent bulge. I think he does, Laura. We can help him with that soon enough. For now, Lon, unpack Ms. Laura's suitcase and report to me when you're finished. Yes, Ms. Ellesmere. It was soon dinner time. My aunt had been teaching Lance how to cook and clean. I decided to help the boy out. Aunt Kate, Lance and I need aprons as we get dinner ready." She came out of the pantry holding 2 wonderfully feminine aprons. She gave Lance the pink and white polka-dotted one and I took the baby blue one. Clearly Lance wanted the blue one but knew better than to irritate my aunt. His demeanor was much better than I expected. I suspect he'd felt the full wrath of my aunt so as not to get her mad. I tied his lovely pink apron in the back with a big bow, all the while keeping close physical contact. "Stop diddling lawn. Get moving." I playfully helped him prepare dinner. I was like a Siamese twin, always attached to him. I'd be behind him, my body right up against his back. I'd take his hand and guide him through draining the pasta and most other tasks. He was so flustered with my teasing. I could tell he desperately wanted to turn around and touch and kiss me. This was so exhilarating for me. Him impotent to display his masculinity for fear of the consequences. After Lance set the table and served the food for us, he was instructed to stand and wait in the corner. "Lon, where is my glass of wine? And get Ms. Laura some iced tea." "Come on then. What are you waiting for?" "Yes, Ms. Ellesmere. You know, Laura, I am not happy with Lance's performance. He has been slow in learning housekeeping skills. It's time he looked more professional. Tomorrow we'll take care of that." I wasn't sure what she had in mind, but I knew that Lance wouldn't like it. The next morning Aunt Kate and I went into Lance's room. Kate brought with her a couple pair of satin and lace panties, one black the other nude. "It's time you started to wear proper feminine panties, Lon. Put on this nude pair. Then you can wear the tan stretchy slacks and your ivory blouse." But he was about to say something. Aunt Kate gave him a stern look and that's all it took. "We're going to do some shopping. It's time you looked the part as my housekeeper." We went to one of the high-end women's shops in town. I recall Aunt Kate dressed in a gray pantsuit with a cream-colored satin blouse and high heels. She was so elegant. Me, I wore one of my usual spandex leggings, oversized top and flats. When we arrived, I escorted Lance into the store full of feminine finery. He was in shock, not knowing what lay ahead. I smiled as he tried to steal glances at the bras and panties on display. This was to be my first time helping a boy shop for lingerie. It didn't get much better than this. An attractive middle-aged woman approached us. She was dressed in a yellow silk blouse, black pencil skirt, nude stockings and black patent leather stilettos. "How may I help you ladies today?" "We're looking for some lingerie for my nephew, Lon." The saleslady did not miss a beat. "Most certainly. Come along and we'll take some measurements, Lainey." Again, I took him by the arm and escorted him into the fitting room. He kept looking around, afraid people would see him being taken into the lingerie fitting room. There he was instructed to disrobe. He stood there in silence, wearing only his satin and lace nude panties, his hands trying to conceal his private parts. It looked like his whole body was red with embarrassment. But luckily for him, the room was secluded. Of course, I was only too eager to egg him along, telling him about what an important moment it was getting a first bra fitting and his own lingerie collection. "Well, my dear, it looks like you're a 36 AA. As for panties, it looks like size 8. Do you have any favorite colors you'd like to focus on?" Lance was silent. "Lon, the saleslady asked you a question." "Don't be rude." "Well, I don't know." "That's fine. We'll improvise. I think pink and purple would suit your skin tone. So, we'll start there." As the saleslady returned with some bra and panty sets, I owed and awed at her choices. This drew the attention of passers-by as they tried to sneak a peek at the recipient of the fine lingerie. Lon is going to have to start shaving his legs soon, so we'll need some hosiery, of course. I'll have you know we get a lot of males coming in here shopping for hosiery. They're rarely as brave as young Lainey here, though. This caught the attention of a couple of teenage girls walking by. They stuck their heads into the fitting area and burst out laughing when they saw Lance dressed in lingerie. I'm sure Lance wanted to run away, the humiliation's so intense. And maybe they were classmates? Now ladies, we have a sale on many of our best sellers including Falk and Aura Blue. If you'll permit me, I'll collect some nylons to go with his bra and panty sets. Does she want pantyhose or stockings? Let's go with 5 pair of stockings, a few garter belts and 5 pair of pantyhose. Splendid! Before the morning was over, Lance had a large bag full of panties, bras and hosiery. Despite his nervousness and humiliation at being measured in the lingerie department, I could sense he was aroused by the whole scene. He was a natural sissy. My aunt told me that most teenaged boys were secretly attracted to women's clothes. They just needed encouragement. Lance was silent all the way back to the car. His eyes vacant. His hands gripping the bag of lingerie. Okay. One more stop, Lon. I have a friend who specializes in uniforms. I have dealt with her a lot over the years. She's expecting us. We need to make you look more professional doing the housework. We drove the short distance back toward my aunt's house and pulled into an old strip mall. We parked in front of the store with a beat-up sign advertising made by Suzanne. I grabbed Lance by the hand and we all made our way into the store. The inside was much more impressive than the aging exterior. It was clear that this was a shop specializing in domestic attire. What caught our eye were the racks and racks of maids' uniforms and plenty of mannequins on display. My aunt greeted the owner, Suzanne, with a friendly cheek-to-cheek kiss. So nice to see you, Catherine. So, is this your latest project? My, he is a cutie. And those long legs. I was holding Lance's hand and I could tell he wanted to run away. This was all too much for him. But there was no denying why we were here, to get him fitted for proper domestic attire. Lon here has decided that pink and purple are his colors of choice. Can you help select some outfits for him? I think 3 ought to do it. Not a problem, Catherine. Okay, you've pegged her as a size 12, right? I think that's spot on. Let's get her some proper attire, shall we? We went to the back where there were stacks of satin maids' outfits along with crinoline everywhere. An hour later, Lance was the proud owner of 3 maids' outfits. One in soft pink, another in hot pink and one in more formal black. He was wearing the hot pink one when it came time to purchase the outfits. The petticoats flared out from the waist, giving him a beautiful voluminous hips. The soft pink pantyhose he was now wearing matched the outfit well. Lon, lift your head up. That's no way to present yourself. I expect that you will work to help pay off the cost of these delightful outfits. It's quite an investment. I placed my arm around Lance's satin waistline and began to escort him outside. But something was obviously wrong. Catherine, you're forgetting something. Clearly she is in need of proper footwear. How could I be so forgetful? I've got plenty of heels at home, but yes, you're right, Suzanne. Lon cannot leave without a pair of proper heels. Do you have something I can borrow? Most assuredly. I have a wide selection of pumps in the back. What size are the flats she's wearing? Lon takes a woman's size 12. Up until now I don't think Catherine had Lance wearing heels. This would be quite an initiation. Suzanne came out with 2 pairs of pumps. The first a silver pair with a 4-inch heel, the second a 2-inch heel in white. I so wanted him to wear the silver ones, but Catherine decided on the white ones. Again, I took his hand and we went back to the car. He managed to hobble not too badly in his heels. There would be plenty of time to learn. The weeks went by and Aunt Kate and I were fitting in well into our good cop bad cop routine. And with Lance wearing women's clothes full-time and mastering walking in heels, it was time to come up with a more appropriate sissy name. As per the sales lady we agreed on Lainey. I was thoroughly enjoying teasing him. I never missed a chance to rub up against him. Sadly, he kept his composure and never once lost control or tried to kiss me. As hard as I tried, he kept his cool. Catherine must have had instilled the fear of God into him. During this time we put him on a more restrictive, low-calorie diet. Unbeknownst to him, Kate added some estrogen supplements to his meals. She told me that this was an important element of her training regime. It calmed the boys down. Aunt Kate usually had her boys turned into well-trained simpering sissies by between 2 and 3 months. With my help, Lainey was turning out to be an exceptional student. It was a little more than a month later that Lainey's mother paid a visit. We told him the night before that his mom would be coming over. I think he believed she was going to rescue him from his feminine prison. The poor dear. The day of the visit we had a little pushback. Still dressed in his white teddy, he was most reluctant to be seen by his mother, wearing feminine clothing. This was the first sign of rebellion I'd seen in Lainey. Lainey, you know the price of insubordination and yet you still refuse to get dressed? You realize I have no choice? He was silent. His head down. I came up to him and took his chin in my hand and looked up at him. Ms. Ellesmere asked you a question, dear. You know it's rude not to answer? You do know what's going to happen? Yes, what? Yes, I know what will happen. Last chance, Lainey. Instead, he sat on the bed. Catherine sat beside him. On my lap, young lady. He didn't move. It was my cue to grab him by the arm and pull him over Catherine's knee. She lifted the bottom of Lainey's teddy, exposing his bare bottom. I'm very disappointed in you, Lainey. Here I thought you were progressing. I have no choice but to give you 30 spankings. Please no, Ms. Ellesmere. Such a fool. You had your chance and you didn't take it. Now Laura, watch closely. Catherine said to me in a hushed tone. I do not hold back. The sissies need to know that I am in control. Insubordination means punishment. When they start crying, and they all do, that's when I increase the punishment. They all behave after that, and with that Catherine began administering the spanking. Sure enough, after about the 15th stroke, Lainey started crying. He begged Catherine to stop. But that was the sign for her to really lay into his bottom. Lainey was a mess when it was all over. Time was running out. We had to get him ready for his mother's arrival. I thought Catherine would dress Lainey in one of his maid's dresses. Instead, she chose a stretchy pair of salmon-colored slacks. For the blouse, she selected a satin ivory top with large puff sleeves and bow in the front. Now, because of your insolence, not only will you be wearing panties under your outfit, but you'll be wearing a garter belt, stockings, and a bra to greet your mother. His face turned white. I helped Catherine by selecting one of the lovely sets he had in his drawer. A French satin and lace nude set bra and panty set. With no further hesitation, Lainey put on the lingerie. He knew well enough by now to put on the garter belt and stockings before putting on his panties. His figure was really coming along by now. His waist thinner and hips a little larger. Dressed in the blouse and slacks, he was positively feminine. I liked how the garter belt showed through his tight slacks. Catherine had him add a thin coat of foundation to his face and then a subtle soft pink eyeshadow and light shade of lipstick. When Ms. Hennessy arrived, Lainey had to answer the door. I'll never forget that moment. Mother, please help me. Take me home, Lainey cried in a hushed tone. Miss Hennessy looked up and down at her son. I can see you are getting just the help you need, Lance. Why would you want to go home now? She said this out loud as she made her way into the living room. Thelma, my dear. So good to see you. And you, Catherine. I see this is your lovely niece. Pleased to meet you, Laura. I understand you've been quite a help to your aunt in rehabilitating my son. Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. It's been my pleasure, believe me. Lainey, as he had learned to do, was standing off to the side with his hands folded in front of him. I love what you've done with his wardrobe. Oh! Is my son now sporting a bra? Yes, indeed, Thelma. And by the way, we've renamed your son Lainey in light of his love of women's clothing and his new role as our maid. Miss Hennessy looked at her son with a smirk. Please have a seat. Lainey, go put your apron on and bring out the tea and cookies. I must say, it's a good thing his dad is not in the picture anymore. He'd have a fit. On second thought, that's something I would love to see. Maybe we can arrange that, Catherine? There is nothing we can't do, Thelma. During tea, Miss Hennessy and my aunt began talking about their society. I was glued to the conversation and fascinated that such a group existed. Naturally, all members were women. They all shared a similar philosophy in the superiority of women. There were 2 other women who performed similar training regimens to my aunt's, but it was clear that hers was the most respected. My aunt told me that after I gained more experience in the art of feminization that I may be eligible to be invited into the society. Laura dear, when you return to school, I have a project for you. I want you to find a boy who you think you can feminize. Not to put too much pressure on you, but I will evaluate how well you do, and if you pass, you will get an invite to one of our society meetings. How does that sound? Oh, Aunt Kate. That sounds wonderful. I couldn't hide my excitement. That's a terrific idea, Catherine. And based on what I've seen here, I'm sure Laura will pass with flying colors. Laura dear, we need some young blood in our society. After tea, I was eager to hear more about what Miss Hennessy thought of our work, so you've seen what we've done so far. Do you have any questions? Is there something missing in her training? Would you like to see Lainey's room? That would be delightful, my dear. I want some ideas on how I can redecorate Lainey's room at home. I could tell that Lainey did not want his mom to see his ultra-feminine room. But he had no choice. I took him by the hand as went upstairs. By now, of course, Lainey's room was fully feminine. Makeup mirror. Lingerie spilling out of the drawers. Feathered mules by the bed. White satin nightgown lying on top of the bed. Oh, Lainey. You are so lucky to have such a pretty room. Much better than yours at home. Lainey was beet red, staring at the floor, standing at the door. The last time his mom saw him, he was still a stubborn macho boy. How the mighty had fallen. Now I think I can finally attend our meetings without any embarrassment from the ladies. Thank you so much, Catherine. And you too, Laura. When do you think my dear son will be ready to return home? That caught Lainey's attention. We still have a lot to do in terms of domestic training, adjusting Lainey's figure and deportment. I would say 6 more weeks minimum, Thelma. I took Lainey's hand. Don't look so sad, my dear. Miss Laura will take good care of you. Well, thank you again, ladies, for taking care of my son. I don't know why I waited so long. Now, I must be going. Please keep the updates coming. It is our pleasure, Eleanor. I had hoped to spend the entire summer working on Lainey. Alas, my mother called a few days later saying I needed to come home immediately. Needless to say, I was disappointed. When I finally said goodbye, I gave Laney a big hug, squeezing his body hard. My breasts pressed against his chest, grinding into his groin. I swear he gave a feminine squeal. "Please, Aunt Kate, let me know how Laney is coming along. I'll miss you. I'll be sure you keep you abreast of the situation. And remember about your project." I got home to find my mother visibly upset. The house looked almost empty. She told me that her boyfriend ran off with her valuables and damaged some of the furniture. The place was unlivable. The bastard. After a few days of assessing the situation, my mom determined that we'd have to move. Dear reader, at this point it would be helpful to read the parts 1 to 4 of The Emasculation of Patrick to understand how Patricia came to be the present. I am sitting here in my aunt's den writing this story. My legs are outstretched and my nylon-clad feet are being massaged by the lovely Patricia. I still fall into the habit of referring to Patricia with he/him pronouns, but he certainly looks nothing like a boy. He is kneeling beside me, dressed in a baby blue satin jumpsuit. He's infatuated with me, and when I occasionally stroke the back of my sissy's neck, he almost purrs. How is it that Patricia is with me? Well, he managed to gain employment with many of the neighbors, cleaning their house. To be clear, he was hired as a maid with all the baggage that goes with the job. I know that his mother had initially encouraged this work to help him through college. Apparently she became very protective of him recently and somehow stopped him from taking any more cleaning jobs. Even for their neighbor Madge. It might have had something to do with my aunt's visit with Ms. Kramer. My aunt and I talked about this turn of events. It was getting close to the end of the summer and I was desperate to bring Patrick back into my fold. He'd become a recluse. We figured that there would be little opportunity to catch him outside, so I had to be diligent if and when he finally did leave the house. I contacted Madge, with whom I'd developed a close relationship with by now. I filled her in on my plan, but I wasn't sure if she would be in favor of me taking Patrick away from his mom, who she was good friends with. I guess her keen interest in the feminization of Patrick was enough for her to let me stay her place so I could spy on her neighbor. For few days there was hardly a stir. Finally, my aunt decided to try and lure the little bird out of his nest by calling up one of his clients, Ms. Jenkins. It turned out Ms. Jenkins had Patrick work for her twice. He was clearly infatuated with her from what she said. Indeed, she was disappointed that he'd been out of touch ever since. Aunt Kate concocted a story where Miss Jenkins absolutely had to have Patrick clean her home. She'd pay him 3 times the normal fee. On the 4th day, early in the morning, I caught sight of Patrick stealthily leaving from the back door of his house. I could see him with his rolling suitcase trundling down the block, most likely to attend to Miss Jenkins' house. I could not conceal a grin. It was time to capture my prey. I called my aunt and told her the plan was in action. She told me she'd park outside the house when it was time. I took my time and, as inconspicuous as possible, made my way to the Jenkins home. As arranged, I came in through the back door. I waited for a signal that Patrick had changed into his maid's uniform and silently made my way upstairs. Much easier to subdue him in a maid's outfit and high heels. I wasn't sure if he'd try and run or come to me. I had to be careful in case of the former. There he was in a baby blue maid's outfit. It had been a few months since I last saw Patrick. He seemed so at ease prancing around the house with his 4-inch white stilettos. He was a natural, and he was soon going to be my natural property. I was wearing a black spandex catsuit, silver bolero sweater and black pumps, something to really draw his attention. I took a seat in Miss Jenkins' plush couch, legs crossed and hands on the armrest. "Hi, Patricia. I missed you. Did you miss me?" His eyes opened wide in shock. "Please, Patricia, Don't look so scared. I won't bite. Come over here. I want to see you up close. This was the test to see if he was still drawn to me or whether I'd have to do some more work. Lo and behold, he slowly made his way to me. Like a little lamb. Closer, I want get a good look at you. As he was wont to do, his face was flush red and he was visibly nervous. I wondered if his mom had warned him about me. In any event, it was too late. I began to caress his nylon-encased legs as he stood in front of me. Here, have a seat on my lap, dear. Now do as I say, Patricia. He mumbled something about needing to leave. I took his hand and yanked him down so his fluffy petticoats were on my lap. I put my arm around his waist, exerting enough pressure to signal he wasn't going anywhere. His hair had grown longer and it felt like his hips were a little wider. What's this about you quitting your maid's job? Well, my mom told me I needed to stop this work and to find something else to do. She was adamant. I bet you missed wearing your lingerie and dresses, no? Do you like the feeling of your lingerie? He hesitated. Yes. Of course you did. Who wouldn't love to wear smooth and silky underwear and pretty dresses? Here's what's going to happen, Patricia. You're going to come with me and we're going to spend some time together. You and me. We'll stay at my aunt's place. She has so much beautiful lingerie, you'd swear you went to heaven. But I better call my mom first. That won't be necessary. Ms. Jenkins will talk to your mom. I winked at Ms. Jenkins and of course we were not going to anything of the sort lest Ms. Kramer try and track us down. I took Patrick by the hand and we got up. Arm in arm we left the Jenkins house. Waiting outside, leaning against her car was my aunt. Another level of fear crossed his face upon noticing her. It's so good to see you again, Patricia. It's been too long. My, you look gorgeous in that shade of blue, my dear. Let's hurry along, there's no time to waste. And off we went back to May Ann's place. The two of us sitting in the back of Kate's pink Cadillac. Patricia, of course, still in her maid's outfit and heels. I know you're going to just love spending time here, Patricia. And we've got a nice surprise for you. I took Patricia by the hand and we walked up the stone steps to the house. I was impressed with how well he maneuvered in his 4-inch pumps through the uneven terrain. Upon entering the front of the house we were met by Helen, formerly known as Alan. He was fully made up with bright yellow and orange mascara and long eyelashes. He was dressed in a yellow satin maid's outfit and 6-inch white slingback heels, not unlike Patricia's outfit. Patricia's face went white when he saw his old friend. Comparing the two, it was clear that Helen was much more practiced and feminine looking. But in my mind, Patrick had much more potential. Alan! Is that you? No response from Helen. I was so worried. Are you okay? But Helen showed no sign of recognizing his old friend and simply went about his duties escorting us in. His expression was flat. We expected this. A lot of his training included ridding himself of memories of his former miserable life with his stepmom and embracing his new life. Without too much delay, we escorted Patricia upstairs to a room at the end of the hall. Kate opened the door with relish. Ta-da! To no one's surprise, the room was elegantly appointed with white satin bed cover, canopy, soft pink plush carpet, a large white chest of drawers and a large closet opposite the bed. Come along, Patricia. This is where you'll be staying and we want you to be comfortable. You won't need to worry about clothes. Here, look inside your dresser. Even I was impressed with the quality and quantity of lingerie my aunt acquired. I can see you're speechless at these drawers full of lingerie. This top one has all sorts of panties, all satin and lace, thongs, boy shorts, high waist. You name it. And here I have your size in bras too, many matching pairs. Imagine not ever having to worry about wearing rough, scraggly boys' clothes anymore. Let's get you changed out of your maid's dress. I have put a nice powder blue satin jumpsuit on the bed. Take everything off. I want to see you coordinate this with bra and panty set, nylons, etc. While Patricia was dressing, Aunt Kate had to give me a dose of reality. In a hushed tone, she reminded me that it wouldn't be long before Patricia's mother contacted my mother, and from there they'll connect the dots. So, there was not much time before I would have to take my sissy away from here. So, while I wrap up this story, I know that my adventure with Patricia will continue.